Everybody. Today, as part of the Jobs 2020 Employer Q&A, we have Cecil Yates, who's the owner of SERVPRO in Crowley, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the positions he's got going on with his group. Cecil, how you doing today?
Great. How about you?
Just doing great. So tell us a little bit about what's happening with SERVPRO right now.
Well, as like everybody else, our business has changed slightly. Fortunately, we've been able to stay open because we were an essential business. But the type of work we've been doing has shifted a little bit. There's a slight downturn in the typical types of things we do, like primarily water damage. That's a big part of our business. And fire restoration. We have had some of those types of jobs lately, but we've also had a lot of the deep cleaning, coronavirus disinfectant type work. And we have
just to interrupt you real quickly, for people
yeah.
who are not familiar with SERVPRO, so you guys do residential restoration. So if somebody has water damage in their house or a fire or something going on, you're going into people's homes and you're making them right again.
That's correct. We do residential, but as much of our business now, a big part of it is commercial, large commercial jobs. At one point in time, I think we've been in business 18 years here in Crowley. When we initially started our business, it was almost all residential, and then you just over time evolved toward a little more commercial work and a little more, and then in the last few years, SERVPRO has pushed a lot for commercial work, and we've become one of the leading national franchises on commercial restoration. But that's the type of work it all kind of falls under the same umbrella, whether it's residential or commercial. It's the core of our business is fire and water damage restoration. And then there are a lot of things that are related to that we do, like air duct cleaning and carpet cleaning and upholstery cleaning, deodorization of all kinds, and mold remediation, and even asbestos abatement. So there's a lot of different moving parts.
So, so what sort of people are you trying to hire these days?
There are two positions in our production department. And one is, of course, a leadership position, a crew chief, and then the other is a production technician. And we're pretty much constantly recruiting for those type positions, growing and adding people. But the crew chief would be someone that could learn to take a fire or water damage project and oversee that project and supervise other people like the production technician. Those would be people that, entry-level type people that would be able to learn kind of from the ground up, and they would be under the supervision of the crew chief.
What sort of qualifications are you looking for with crew chief?
We might primarily need someone that's had some type of work experience, somebody that's had a little bit of longevity in a previous position, and ideally someone that has had some supervisory responsibilities, someone that knows how to supervise other people and at the same time be involved in doing the work and helping do the work too, so they're kind of a working supervisor.
Okay. So any particular businesses they would have come from?
Well, it seems to be better if they've had a type of job where they're out in the public working in people's homes or in businesses in some capacity. Someone that has, for example, been in the plumbing business or air conditioning, landscaping, things like that, where they're familiar with working out in the public and dealing with customers directly, and someone that enjoys doing that. That's kind of the basic, that they seem to transition into this a little better than somebody that never has had that kind of a job.
Okay. So and how many crew chiefs and service technicians are you trying to find right now?
Actually, just one crew chief immediately. We could take a second one if we find the right people. We'll go ahead and bring two people on board to start grooming them and developing crew chiefs. And then production technicians, we need two immediately. And more than likely we'll end up with, in the near term, we'll probably have 4 additional production technicians.
Okay. What's the earliest people would start work in a day and the latest they would finish in a day?
That's what discourages a lot of people from getting into this business. I'm glad you asked that. We have a regular schedule where people come to work every day. Our starting time is typically 8:30. Sometimes we shift that depending on if we get a call from a customer before 8:30, then we have to come in earlier. But once you get to work, typically you're scheduled to go home at 5 o'clock, but we never know for sure. There are times when we go home and maybe don't even make it all the way home before we get called to come back. And then there are times after hours when you've maybe been home for a few hours and we get a call and we have to respond. We have to quickly get everything together and get to the office and get headed to a job site. And as far as knowing what time, we don't know, because once we, for example, on a water damage job, when you go out there in the evening or anytime, you have to have a certain number of things completed before you can leave. And just depends on how efficient, how big the job is, and just a lot of other factors. Some of them are beyond our control that require people to work some pretty extensive hours sometimes. But
you've got a framework of a day, but everybody's sort of on call just in case something goes down.
Right, and that applies 24/7, 365. I always tell people we've been in business 18 years and we've never closed. So
job security.
I'm sorry?
Job security.
It is, it can be, and it's for somebody that enjoys physical activity and dealing with customers and helping people when they're in need. I think that's more than anything what attracted me to this business. I went, of course, the first 2 years we were in business, I didn't make any money. That's kind of the way it is when you start a business. You expect to be underwater for a while, and sure enough, it worked out that way. But
let's talk a little bit about the pay range for these positions, if we could.
Yeah, okay. Well, a technician, production technician, it would vary, at least $12 an hour. But if someone had a little bit more than just basic work experience, they'd probably start out at 13. And then the idea is they come in and start going through the training program, and it's pretty accelerated, pretty quick, and if they're engaged and giving their best effort, they can move beyond that pretty quickly. So 12 to, I'd say the most a technician would make would be about 15 an hour. And then if someone had progressed to the point that they were making $15 an hour as a technician, they're pretty soon after that going to become a crew chief, because it takes some training and experience to get to where you could justify paying a technician $15 an hour. And then the crew chief is going to be somewhere between $14 and $16 an hour, plus there are other compensation perks, I guess you'd call it, for a crew chief. There's some call-out bonuses and commissions and things that they would make over and above their hourly rate.
Is everyone full-time? Do they have benefits?
The benefits are just paid holidays and vacation.
Okay.
Currently, we don't provide health insurance.
Let's see. So, do they need to have a driver's license?
They do. It's possible that if it was a production technician, we might be able to work around that. On the other hand, they need to be on call and they need to be available and be able to get to the office quickly when they're called after hours. And so if they happen to have that type access to transportation, if they don't have a driver's license or a vehicle, that might work, but ideally they would have a driver's license and good transportation.
Okay. And is there an age minimum?
Just, of course, the legal age for them to work in this industry would be 17, I believe, but I put 18. I think that's normally what. I don't know if we've ever had an employee that was younger than 18.
Okay. So in terms of, you're working inside people's homes and inside people's businesses. So I'm making an assumption here that there'll be a background check with anyone that gets hired.
There is. And because the restrictions that are placed on us by our clients, which are a lot of insurance companies that we work with, they have a really strict requirement on background checks. And that applies not only to our employees, but it applies to me and everybody on the payroll, owners or managers, whoever. Everybody has the same requirement.
Okay. Well, super. So if they want to apply, obviously these positions will be on Work in Texas, as well as a way to contact Cecil. Is there any other channel you'd like to talk about that people can contact you about these positions?
They could just email their resume directly to me at the owner at SERVPROcrowley.com.
Okay.
They could
Make
also,
sure that's on Work in Texas as well for them to see.
yeah, that should be displayed on there. And then they could also go to Indeed.com and we've got jobs posted there. Our Facebook page, if they use Facebook, they can just search for SERVPRO of Crowley and go to our Facebook page and there are jobs posted there. And on our website, our own SERVPRO of Crowley website, there's a place that they can apply and it will alert us, notify us through an email when they apply in any of those ways.
Perfect. Perfect. Cecil, I think that's about all we have time for today. I want to thank you for joining us. And, personally, I've never done business with you, but I've had building restoration come into my house. And I'll tell you what, I had a whole lot less stress by the time that was over, because to me, it seemed disastrous at the time. And after they'd been and told me what they could do, I sure felt a whole lot better about it. You guys do some fantastic work, and I know it helps people out a lot, and I would certainly call it essential these days. So thanks again for joining us, and thank you for tuning in, everybody.
Thank you.